Phoenix, Arizona. And the battle for the national championship is as hot as the desert sun. Have come to Phoenix to continue their quest for the national championship. Al Unser Jr. has the points lead coming into today's race. He hasn't won since July, but has led many times this year and has 8 top 10 finishes in 13 events. Only 2 points behind is his father, Al Sr., who wasn't supposed to be a regular competitor this year. No wins yet in 85, but he has the pole for today's race. Bobby Rahal has earned 70 points in the last 4 races and has moved to 3rd. He took the lead for the final time last weekend in this move and recorded his 3rd win in 4 races. Mario Andretti is 4th in points. Earlier this year, Andretti was the hottest driver in the series. But incidents like this one at Laguna Seca have doused his hopes of becoming a repeat champion. He has 2 wins at Phoenix, but the last came way back in 1967. Danny Sullivan and Emerson Fittipaldi also have a mathematical chance of capturing the PPG Cup as ESPN presents live coverage of the Dana 150 from Phoenix International Raceway. From the mountains and the desert, southwest of Phoenix, Arizona, we welcome you to Phoenix International Raceway for the Dana 150, the next to the last stop on the 1985 PPG Series. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with Larry Newber. This is our final live auto racing telecast of the year on ESPN. It comes on this 1-mile D-shaped oval here at Phoenix with no less than 6 drivers eligible for the national championship.
Well, Bob, this is not the closest race in the history of IndyCar racing, although this is definitely the closest championship in the short history of kart racing. This has happened before when a number of people have had a chance for it. As we look at the people who are the real contenders, the Unsers, Andretti, I really feel as though as we come down to the end of the season, it may be Rahal's championship to win or lose. He has shown the ability to go fast and to win on any type of race course the last couple of months. I think he is really on the hot spot.
This track has been resurfaced. The speeds were lightning fast. 161 for the pole, and 13 drivers broke the previous track record.
Well, to put this into perspective, we're talking 160 miles an hour where NASCAR cars, many times on super speedways, only go that fast. It raises an interesting question. How fast is fast? How safe can you go fast on a 1-mile racetrack? Is 160 too much? I think some of those answers might come about as a result of today's race.
Let's get more on the Unsers by going to our pit announcer for this afternoon. Here is Jack Arute.
Gentlemen, when you take a look at the point standings in the PPG Cup title chase, well, it says Unser, Al Unser Sr. trailing his son, Al Unser Jr. Now, Unser has done what he's supposed to do, and that is to plank the car on the pole and gain 1 point in the chase. He's now down to 2, running against his son, but the point to remember is that Al Unser Sr. is yet to win this year. His son has won 3 times. Now, no champion in the PPG title chase has ever won the championship without scoring a victory. In the last 10 years of championships runs, well, Tom Sneva gathered in the championship back in USAC days, but that was with 6 second-place finishes, and it's been a long time since we've seen that. We'll just have to wait and see if Unser can win today and maybe overtake his son for the victory.
All right, Jack, thank you. Stand by now for the Dana 150 from Phoenix International Raceway. It's being brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Pennzoil Motor Oil, quality protection, ask for it. And by Bud Light, the light beer with the first name and taste. Everything else is just a light. We'll be back with the starting lineup and a look at this racetrack in just a moment from Phoenix, Arizona. It's a beautiful day today in Phoenix. The temperature is 80 degrees. Winds are calm. The humidity only 20%. Skies are clear, and they list the chance of rain as only 5%.
Well, the man who has actually been the scourge of IndyCar racing the last couple of months here has been Bobby Rahal. We are on the radio with Bobby, and Bobby, I guess it's just win or nothing for you guys at this point, isn't it?
Well, I suppose so to a degree. Obviously, we got to finish, too. We got to make sure we finish. But I don't know what the amount of competition is in this race. Anything can happen. So we're just going to try to, first and foremost, make it to the end and then see where we are at that point.
Okay, Bobby, a fast racetrack, good qualifying lap, and good luck to you today, Bobby.
The field in its pace lap coming down the main straightaway here as the pace car has the field in tow. And now here is a look at the starting lineup for this afternoon's race. On the pole, qualifying at 161.885 miles an hour, the number 5 Pennzoil C7, Al Unser Sr. Outside of row number 1, Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio, in the number 3 Budweiser True Sports March. In the second row, Emerson Fittipaldi in the number 40 711 STP March. Outside of the second row, Danny Sullivan from Louisville, Kentucky, in the number 4 Miller American. In the third row, Scott Brayton from Coldwater, Michigan, in the number 71 Livingwell Auto-Style Jolly Ranchers Lola. Outside of the third row will be Michael Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, in the number 99 Electrolux Craco March. In the fourth row, Mario Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Car 1, the Beatrice Lola. Outside of the fourth row will be Al Unser Jr. from Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the number 30 Domino's Pizza Hot One. The fifth row, Pancho Carter from Brownsburg, Indiana, in car number 6. Outside of the fifth row will be Jeff Brabham in number 7, the Coors Light Silver Bullet. The sixth row, Ari Leyendijk in the Provimi Veal Lola number 61. Outside of the sixth row will be Jacques Villeneuve in car 76, the Canadian Tire March. Row number 7, car 36, Jim Crawford, and 21, Johnny Rutherford. In the eighth row, Jose Le Garza in number 55 and Roberto Guerrero in number 9. The ninth row, Ed Pem in car number 98 and Gary Bettenhausen in 24. The 10th row, Danny Gaius and Randy Lanier. The 11th row, A.J. Foyt and Don Whittington. Row number 12, Steve Chassie and Jan Lammers. And in the 13th row, Tom Sneva and Kevin Kogan. We are set to go as the pace car ducks in through the pit lane. The field comes up of corner number 4, set to go green. The starter looking them over, and the green is out. Into corner number 1, and Al Unser Sr., our pole sitter, did not have a good start. He has dropped back to third position. It is Bobby Rahal that is leading. A good start for Emerson Fittipaldi, who has moved up to second position, with Al Unser Sr. now running third.
Bob, the question immediately becomes, is that it? Rahal has shown the ability to go to the front early in races in past weeks and just stay there all day long. Has he already won this race? You cannot emphasize enough how quickly they're going around this 1 mile oval. 160 miles an hour. I don't think in our lifetime, at least early in our lifetime, we ever really anticipated speeds this high on a 1 mile racetrack.
Well, last year when Jacques Villeneuve set a 1-lap, 1-mile closed course record at 155 miles an hour, I think, oh, we have a crash up in corner number 1. Johnny Rutherford is involved in the crash, and there is one other car also involved. That is Ari Leyendijk in car number 61, the contender for Rookie of the Year honors this year. Rutherford and Leyendijk have both crashed in corner number 1. We see Johnny Rutherford's head moving, indicating that he is okay, and we've also seen some movement from Ari Leyendijk, so hopefully both drivers were not injured in this crash.
Significant wall contact here early at the Dana 150 at the Phoenix International. We told you about the tremendously high speeds at the top of the show. We do a parallel to some of the tracks on the Grand National schedule. 2.5 miles in length, and they only go 160 miles an hour. There you can see the aftermath of that situation up there high above turn number 1. Johnny Rutherford backing into the fence. Lots of debris coming down, and Ari Leyendijk also already collected before we pick him up on this shot. Ari making contact in front of the car. You can see the Ari very upset about what happened, and the entire front of the car is removed that time. The front wings are gone.
Well, Rutherford is not out of the car yet. He is being helped out by the kart safety personnel. There is Arie Luyendyk. He obviously okay, walking away from the scene of the crash. And Johnny Rutherford is now out of his wrecked racer and appears to be okay. He's talking with Dr. Terry Trammell, Steve Edwards, and the other medics and doctors that are on hand for the race here this afternoon. Johnny Rutherford also crashed very hard here a few years ago off of corner number 4. The car upside down. Johnny survived that crash, and he is among the early drivers out of the Dana 150 here this afternoon at Phoenix. So while we are yellow, we'll take this break and be right back for more of IndyCar racing from Phoenix. The cleanup continues over in turn number 1. Johnny Rutherford and Arie Luyendyk involved in an early crash here. The leader of this race is Bobby Rahal. Emerson Fittipaldi running second. Al Unser Sr. is third. In fourth spot is Danny Sullivan. Fifth is Michael Andretti. And sixth is Al Unser Jr. Well, Jack Arute is down in the pit area with Arie Luyendyk, who was involved in that shunt over in turn 1.
We're here in the pits, walking down pit road with Arie Luyendyk. Arie, first of all, your condition, are you okay?
Yeah, nothing, no problem.
What happened out there in the corner? It all unfolded so quickly.
Well, we were just, you know, settling in the race, and Rutherford lost it. He just spun in front of me, but I couldn't go below him because I was already committed to the outside. So I had nowhere to go but hit him.
For Vanderbilt Rookie of the Year contender that you are, you didn't even work up a sweat today. It's got to be a bitter disappointment, a tough pill for you to swallow.
Well, it is because I'm trying to get some you know, experience on the short ovals, on the big ovals, and we were doing well in qualifying, and I just wanted to race real bad here, and I did one lap, so it's just a shame that, you know.
But there's Miami.
Yeah, and next year.
Well, that's about all you can say when you drop out of a race that early.
Certainly doesn't have the Rookie of the Year honors wrapped up yet, but I would say there is the most likely candidate to walk off with the honors, Arie Luyendyk.
Bob, not only that, but he has done surprisingly well on the ovals. I don't think anybody expected anything from Arie because he had absolutely no experience with the exception of the Super Bs on the ovals, having grown up on the road courses of Europe. But he has qualified in the top 10 on a couple of occasions and also finished in the top 10 once earlier this year and was running very strongly at St. Air when another incident that seemed to be outside of his control took him out of the race.
Cleanup work still goes on in corner number 1. It's going to be a few more laps before we can get this race back underway. The crash once again involves Johnny Rutherford and Arie Luyendyk. It occurred on the 3rd lap in corner number 1. So we'll take another break and resume our live coverage of this Dana 150. U.S. challengers will spend about $100 million for the right to bring back the Cup, and we'll begin our coverage with a look at America's 80 Cup 87 Bring Back the Cup on ESPN November 3rd. We hope you'll join us for that. Roberto Guerrero in car number 9 is running in 12th position here in the early stages of the Dana 150, and we'll try to establish radio contact with him.
Roberto, this is Larry Nuber up on ESPN. Do you have a reading on us?
I do, Larry.
Roberto, about the incident, were you right behind Johnny and Arie? Did you see any of it unfold?
Probably had the best seat on the house. Johnny started losing the car going into 1, and poor Arie really didn't have anywhere to go.
Pretty hard contact. Were you closely involved in that also, Roberto?
I had to stand hard on the brakes, but fortunately I had enough time to avoid it.
Well, Roberto, you've been on the cement before on a 1-mile racetrack. It doesn't make any difference if it's 2.5 miles or 1 mile. That cement is still very hard, isn't it?
Yes, that's for sure.
Okay, Roberto, thank you very much, and best of luck to you. We know you have a lot of work in front of you, about 10 cars to work your way through. Good luck.
Thank you, Larry.
Roberto Guerrero from Colombia, the 1984 Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year. Well, Well, the incident once again up in corner number 1, Rutherford and Lyondike.
You can see Johnny Rutherford went into the wall first. He was actually T-boned into the wall between the wall and Arie Lyondike, and Arie making contact with Johnny on the front nose section of his race car. You can see one of the side pods in the Rutherford machine absorbing a lot of energy and crushing upon impact.
You know, Larry, they used to, of course, carry the fuel in the side pods, but a few years back they moved the fuel to behind the driver. But nevertheless, there are quite a few things in that side pod that are essential to the operation of the car. Here's a report on that.
All of us are well acquainted with the use of side pods as it applies to ground effects in championship car racing. But it really gets interesting when you take the bonnet off of one of these cars and look at what's stored inside the side pods. On the left-hand side, you can see the radiator is housed there up front so the air can travel through it and cool the motor. There's also space down back towards the engine for the placement of the header pipes. But when you get to the right-hand side of a car, that's when it gets interesting. The first thing we notice is a long shaft that comes from inside the cockpit and traverses all the way down to the rear of the car. That's the shifting linkage between the gear shift knob that the driver uses and the transmission. Up front, well, we have another cooler, this time for oil cooling. Now, a series of braided hoses run through an oil filter, back up into the oil cooler, then back into the crankcase. The third element on the side pod on this side is, of course, the spark box itself, which ensures proper ignition throughout the race. The fourth and final element, the fuel pump. A shaft drives it here, runs the fuel through this filtration system, back through a series of braided hoses, and into the carburation system used on the car. So as you can see, while aerodynamics may be the primary focus for side pods, they also serve as very effective storage space on an Indianapolis car.
And the side pods on Arie Lyondike and Johnny Rutherford's car very badly damaged here. They were involved in the incident over in turn number 1. We're still under yellow. 13 laps now being completed. The top 10 at this point shows that Bobby Rahal continues to lead with Fittipaldi running in second position. We'll be back with more of our live coverage in just a moment. Phoenix International Raceway, where the green has come out and the race resumed. Bobby Rahal continues to hold on to the lead. Fittipaldi, Al Sr., Danny Sullivan, Michael Andretti, Al Jr., and Mario Andretti running in that order.
Well, Bob, there's some smoke coming from the back of Emerson Fittipaldi's car. When he goes into turn number 1, there's a puff of smoke that comes out. The car seems to be running very smoothly. He may be just running a little too low as far as the ride characteristics of the race car. As he goes in the number 1 corner, that's the one place in the speedway where you really get off the throttle. You see the smoke right there when he goes into turn number 1. Right now, we're guessing that has something to do with the structure of the race car rather than the mechanics of it.
Al Unser Sr. running right on Fittipaldi's tail, moving into corner number 3. Al Unser Sr. closing up the gap just a little bit. He was our pole sitter for this race. Danny Sullivan running behind Al Unser Sr. Now, we might mention that Tom Sneva started on the last row of this race in the 25th starting position. Sneva was actually disqualified yesterday after a qualifying session because the side pod on the car was too low. So he was able to correct the problem. He was entered in the race as a promoter's option. There he is in car number 2. And Tom Sneva has passed several cars here. 3, 4, 5.
He's running in 14th. Yeah, he's running in 14th, Bob, and he had a great restart once the green light flashed back on. But he's been heading out after Jose Garza since that time, and really the climb, which seemed to be rather sudden there about a minute ago, has stalled a little bit. An interesting race car. It's like a hybrid race car. They had a super speedway side pod on the inside and a short track side pod on the outside. They're a little low on parts, and they had to kind of piece it together for this weekend here at Phoenix. But as we all know, Tom is very good on a 1-mile racetrack. He has won 9 times on a 1-mile or less racetrack, and he heads up, or actually he's tied in kart racing with 3 other drivers in that category.
Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. are running right together on the racetrack. 5th and 6th position coming off of corner number 4. Michael Andretti, who has run well in the early stages of several races, but just can't seem to put together a real good finish. On the other hand, Al Unser Jr. in the points lead in kart and looking forward to become, as a matter of fact, the youngest national champion in history.
Well, Michael has led a number of races this year, particularly on the ovals. He qualified way down the list. The track was very slippery when he went out. Even though he qualified up in 6th position, he was a little disappointed. He thought he could have done better. There is Dad Mario Andretti stalking behind Al Unser Jr. and son Michael. Mario Andretti, who has really slowed down from his pace the early part of this season. It looked like he was absolutely invincible with 3 wins and a second in the first 4 races after qualifying in the pole 3 of those 4 races. But the second half of the season just has not gone his way at all. And now he really is in jeopardy of being eliminated from the points championship.
Emerson Fittipaldi and Al Unser Sr. now are closing in on the leader, Bobby Rahal. Here he is coming off of corner number 4. There's a slow car between first and second position. That is Randy Lanier in the red car number 12. But Emerson Fittipaldi and Al Unser Sr. both moved to the inside and passed Lanier. And now, with 25 laps completed, it is still Rahal, Emerson Fittipaldi, and Al Unser Sr. Emerson is a tremendously interesting story. Who would have thought that the 2-time world champion who competed solely on the road courses over in Europe could come over here and do so well on the ovals this year? His only win on the high banks of Michigan International Speedway.
There is Al Unser Sr. With experience, he and Mario Andretti would have to be given the advantage in terms of this points championship. Senior runs in 3rd position. Emerson Fittipaldi, about whom Bob was just speaking, runs in 2nd spot. He doesn't not have the kind of experience on the oval tracks as well as American road racing, certainly that Andretti and Unser have. So from that standpoint, Emo is at a real disadvantage. His program, the second half of the season, has really deteriorated also. You can't really say it's because he has not done that well on the oval. Here we are in a 1-mile oval, and he has qualified in the first 4. Mechanical problems have beset him many times when he was in a position for a top 5 finish.
We have a camera on top of a mountain, which is beyond turns 3 and 4, and that's the angle that you are watching the race from right now. Emerson Fittipaldi and Bobby Rahal both with a little bit of problem getting around some of the back markers here, but everything goes okay. They race down the backstretch once again.
Well, Bob, this racetrack at these speeds becomes very tight. You mentioned at the top of the show that it's wide as racetracks go, 60 feet. As you can see in certain sections on the straightaways, it's even wider than that. At 160 miles an hour, you go around this racetrack every 22 seconds, similar to St. Air when you're picking up and lay down laps at about the same length of time. Things happen so very quickly, and it almost becomes not important how fast you're going. It's how quickly the scenery is going by and how rapidly you must react.
One of the real stories here this weekend was Scott Brayton. As we watch this race continue here, that's Michael Andretti and Mario Andretti with Jan Lammers right ahead of them. But just beyond Mario Andretti in the number 71 red car with the yellow wing, that is Scott Brayton from Coldwater, Michigan, who did a tremendous job qualifying that car, good enough for 5th starting position.
Yeah, Jan Lammers is staying in the groove. Lammers is trying to race for position, but he's not giving way to the fastest cars coming up behind. Anxious moments here. There goes Mario underneath son Michael. Lammers is still right in the middle of the racetrack. Will they split the difference going on the front stretch? Mario looks like he has the advantage, but slower traffic in front. Wow, tight quarters here. That's Andretti down low. Randy Lanier is in that group. There goes Mario by. Michael has to wait. Lanier is disposed of. Now moving underneath Lammers, and Mario Andretti gets the advantage out of this little sachet.
And that is exactly how much lap traffic, how much a part it can play here, as Mario went from a position behind his son Michael and now has a bit of an interval between himself and Michael. There is Pancho Carter in the number 6 car, who started in 9th position. That, of course, the Valvoline Hawk March, qualifying at 156.753. By the way, Bobby Rahal is setting a pace about 10 miles an hour off of the qualifying speed here. He's running right now at about 152 miles an hour. Pancho Carter is 8th.
Well, we're looking at Pancho Carter, the man who had that win taken away after that controversy following the St. Air race. And just one comment about that, maybe a period on that story. I was very happy to see that the board included one paragraph as a result of their decision. They said that they felt Pancho Carter had reacted with good racing judgment, and therefore we would not penalize him. He was awarded the 2nd position, although the win was taken away.
Now the leader, Bobby Rahal, approaching the Chevrolet-powered car of Steve Chassis coming out of turn number 4, and right ahead of Chassis is A.J. Foyt. Yes, A.J. competing here this weekend, but again, not a real successful qualifying venture. He was clocking in only at about 150 miles an hour. And look at Al Unser Sr. blast around everybody on the backstretch.
Jan Lammers again up there. There's Mario trying to find a way through. Al Unser has just found a secret. He moved right through traffic like a hot knife through butter, and Al Unser finds himself in the lead. There is Gary Bettenhausen in 24. A.J. Foyt in 14. A.J. moves over. Now he moves up on Gary. Three oval track veterans right there, and Al Unser, like he was shot from a gun, has suddenly taken over the #1 position.
It was just like, well, you guys have seen enough of Bobby Rahal and Emerson Fittipaldi. I am going to dominate and move into the lead here. Look what happened coming off of corner number 2.
He's not even in the picture. Suddenly, there he is. He says, I'm not going to mess with this lap traffic. I'm going to the high side around Steve Chassis. He had positioned himself just properly on the racetrack. He's got some momentum. Had to slow down for Jan Lammers. Now he moves up on A.J. Foyt. Soon he was around him. And Al Unser Sr. is now the man in the lead.
Don Whittington is into the pits for the second time. This car looks a little strange because he wrecked the car that he qualified yesterday after qualifying, and the car was damaged so badly they decided to bring this car, which is actually Emerson Fittipaldi's backup car, and run it as a promoter's option. He started in 22nd position. Don Whittington from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Looks like they're calling it a day, Bob. This was his first time ever here in an Indy car, although he has raced a stock car, believe it or not, in the Copper Classics a couple of years here before, but their day is coming to an abrupt halt here in the pit.
It is unbelievable what Al Unser Sr. is doing. He has now lengthened his lead by almost a full straightaway over Bobby Rahal. Emerson Fittipaldi continues to run third, and we'll be back with more right after this. Unser Sr. is leading the Dana 150 at Phoenix International Raceway with 45 laps completed. Bobby Rahal running in second. Emerson Fittipaldi is third. Fourth is Danny Sullivan, then Al Unser Jr. and Mario Andretti.
Bob, when he's on the track on his own, he's running lap 23.4, 23.5. Had a little bit of a difficulty getting around Tom Sneva. He slowed down to like 23.6 seconds, but boy, once he gets a clear racetrack, he is running much more rapid than anybody else on the speedway, and this laps he's running would have qualified him in about 10th or 12th position.
Boy, he is really moving out there in that Pennzoil C7 March. Jack Arute is down in the pit area with an interesting spectator for this race. Jack?
Well, we alluded to the fact that Don Whittington had more than his share of problems all through the weekend. Well, he's retired the car, but the guy that used to drive that STP number 20 is with me, Gordon Johncock. And Gordon, we understand that you came that close to driving it this weekend.
Well, yes, I did. I had kind of made a deal with Mr. Patrick to come back here and drive, but the team manager, Jim McGee, didn't want me to come back for some reason, I guess. So I'm standing here watching.
Does that mean that possibly in 1986 we'll see Gordon Johncock helmet in hand going back to the CART PPG IndyCar Wars?
Well, yes, it is, Jacko. I made my announcement today that I'm coming back for 1986 to race.
With who?
Well, I don't know. Hopefully with STP. I've been with STP for a long time, and they're good people. They know what racing's all about, and next year I sure hope that I can come back with them.
Now, Gordon, at Indianapolis, you said you could drop the helmet and walk away. What's happened through the year to change your mind and make you consider coming out of retirement like this?
Well, I think, you know, in one way I kind of made a hasty decision. Things weren't going all that well and hadn't been for a couple, 3 years, and I think I just decided that I'd had enough of the way things were going, and I was going to give it up. But since then, you know, I've had a lot of thoughts about it, and I feel that I'm as capable now as I was 10 years ago. So, you know, I sit here and watch them run, and I like to be competitive. I like to win races. I'm not just coming back to try and finish races and make some money. I want to be competitive and win.
Well, it sounds to me like maybe after you got out of the cockpit, you had time to think about it, and maybe more of the problems and the wrinkled eyebrows that you had were due to your team situation rather than your ability as a race car driver.
Well, a lot of it was, yes. There's no question about it.
Well, gentlemen, there you've got it, and this has got to be the biggest story thus far this weekend. Gordon Johncock back behind the wheel of a race car in 1986.
For those of you who are regular viewers of Speed Week every Thursday night at 7:30, a couple of weeks ago we had a report on Gordon Johncock's retirement and the farm that he operates teammates out here in the Phoenix area, but there was an indication during that report that Gordy was just not happy with what he was doing and wanted to get back into auto racing. So next year we'll look forward to his being in IndyCar racing once again. Jose Le Garza and Jeff Brabham are running right together on the racetrack in 12th and 13th spot.
Al Unser Sr., meanwhile, is picking them up and laying them down. There are only 8 cars in the lead lap. These guys are among a whole host of cars that are at least 1 lap down. A.J. Foyt, as we are talking, by the way, is pulled behind the pit wall. Apparently, Super Texas Day is ending prematurely again. There is Brabham coming down. Jose Le Garza running right behind Brabham. You can see tight quarters going into turn number 1 at this super high speed. This may be the country's only 1-mile super speedway. This place is fast. Kind of reminds you of how quickly they can get around Dover.
Jose Le Garza right behind Jeff Brabham on the racetrack. Jose Le, of course, from Mexico City. There is Jeff Brabham, and now Jose Le right up on the back wing, looking to the inside, coming down the straightaway, doing the same thing going into turn number 1, but electing at this point to stay behind Brabham.
Bob, on this racetrack with the cars of the modern vintage of 1985, the drivers are flat out practically all the way around the speedway. There they are charging into 3 and 4. You never even lift in the modern Indy cars going around these corners. You sail off of turn number 4. There's Jose Le looking to the inside of Jeff down the front stretch. You just get off the accelerator just a moment. You'll think about it more than you do it, but you got to get off going into number 1. It's like a security blanket. Then you're right back on the accelerator hard coming out of turn number 2 to the dog leg down the wide backstretch, and then darting on to turn number 3 again.
Jose Le Garza started 15th. He now runs in the 14th position, and Jeff Brabham started 10th and is now running in the 13th spot.
That's Mario Andretti right behind him. Yes, Mario is still on the lead lap. He is in 6th position right now, 21 seconds behind Al. That means that Al Unser Sr. is moving up rapidly, and Mario, within the next 10 or 15 laps, could be one of those also going down a lap.
8 cars on the lead lap at this point. Again, heavy traffic coming down the main straightaway. Mario Andretti looking to lap Jose Le Garza and Jeff Brabham, but Andretti unable to at the present time. 8 cars on the lead lap, including Scott Creighton, Michael Andretti, Mario, Al Jr., Danny Sullivan, Emerson Fittipaldi, Bobby Rahal, and the leader, Al Unser Sr.
A lot of guys have really improved their gas mileage, actually fuel mileage, methanol alcohol. They're at 2 and 2.2 gallons. One interesting thing about this racetrack, it's only a mile in length, with the gas consumption being the lower rate than what it is. You run a lot of this race on full tanks. This is the one track throughout the entire season where you run so many laps on what amounts to full or 3/4 full tanks. That is really a factor in today's race.
Emerson Fittipaldi has passed Bobby Rahal, and now Emerson is in 2nd spot. So a good run for Emerson. And we talked to him earlier this weekend, and he just kind of indicated to us that he is beginning to really like the ovals, was looking very much forward to competing here this weekend. 60 laps have been completed. Only a 150-lap event here this afternoon, so it's going to be a relatively short race. There's Tom Sneva, who has already been lapped by the faster cars and is in 11th spot, although he has moved up well from his 24th starting position.
Bob, you know, you're talking about Emerson Fittipaldi as we look at Tom Sneva. Fittipaldi and Roberto Guerrero comes into the pits. It's been one of those seasons for this guy from Medellin, Colombia. He has been fast so many times that just a plethora of mechanical problems. They had that car completely apart yesterday trying to make last-minute repairs.
Roberto Guerrero drops out of this race. We'll be right back with more live coverage from Phoenix International Raceway in just a moment. Back at Phoenix International Raceway, I'm Bob Jenkins. Larry Nuber and Jack Arute are also here for the Dana 150, and at this point, it's an Al Unser Sr. show. He blasted into the lead several laps ago and is literally running away with this race. He's now about 8 seconds ahead of Emerson Fittipaldi, and there are 6 cars on the lead lap with now 66 laps completed.
Bob, it really is beginning to look like his weekend. At least 3 crew chiefs told me silently, or quietly I should say, that they felt that Al Unser Sr. really had the setup honed in here at Phoenix International this weekend, and they thought he might lead the entire race. And Emerson Fittipaldi, who has been running in in second position has moved into the pits as Al Unser moves up with Mario Andretti. Rick Mears very much involved in setting up the Unser car, and there's Emo in the pits.
Emerson Fittipaldi looks like it's a routine pit stop. He's pushed out after having gotten more fuel in that car and the tires changed. So Fittipaldi blasts back out onto the racetrack. You're right, this Penske team has done extensive testing here at Phoenix, but most of the testing was at the hands of Rick Mears. And they decided early last week that they would not run 3 cars and Mears would not be involved in the race simply because they wanted to make sure that Al Unser Sr. had a good shot at the national championship. Jack Arute is with Roberto Guerrero.
And I'm sure, Roberto, this is not where you wish to be this afternoon. What put you out of the race?
We had a problem with the engine.
Did you know that before the start, or did it just develop in the early going?
No, the engine was running fine, and all of a sudden it just started making funny noises, so we switched it off. And it's a shame. I was looking forward to talking to you people from ESPN, but we only got to talk once, I'm afraid.
That's not good at all, but I think also we're pleased to announce that you too have renewed a contract. You're going to be driving for Dan Carter and the True Value team in 1986. You, Marco, and your wife have got to be pleased with that relationship.
Yeah, we're very happy. You know, we're trying to, you know, get the team working really well for next year. We're looking into engineers. But, you know, we definitely need an engineer, and just hope that we can have a better season next year.
Well, we've got a host of pit stops going underway right now down here. Jeff Brabham, Steve Chassis, they've come in. Emerson Fittipaldi. We'll be keeping you abreast of that activity later on.
All right, and Jeff Brabham now very slowly moving out of the pit area. It appears as if that car has a problem getting away. Now he finally gets it in gear, and away he goes. But a long pit stop for Jeff Brabham. He comes out right ahead of Steve Chassis.
It will take one pit stop for everybody to traverse the 150 miles, 150 laps here. And as you can see right now, the pit stops are beginning, and there's quite a big window. It doesn't make too much critical difference like it does on so many other racetracks, like at Pocono, where you have to be just precise, or maybe Elkhart Lake. But there's a large window of when you can pit stop on a 1-mile racetrack when you get such good mileage. So we should see pit stops for the next 15 laps. And our leader, Mr. Rahal, has pulled into the pit area.
And here are the projected points should the race end right now. Al Unser Sr. would have the lead. Bobby Rahal has come in, and so has Danny Sullivan. Now we're waiting to see if Al Unser Sr. will come in next lap around. Let's go down to Jack Arute.
Well, it was a quick 3-tire exchange for Danny Sullivan. They're holding him up, make sure he takes on a full load of fuel. They drop the onboard Jackson. He's away. Kind of a lengthy pit stop, however. And now the Pennzoil Z7 team is getting ready to pit as Bobby Rahal finishes his service.
And the crew is ready for the Al Unser Sr. stop. Penske and company ready. And we'll see if it happens this time around. Several other cars are coming in for their pit stops, including Scott Brayton and Kevin Kogan and Jacques Villeneuve. And here comes Al Unser Sr. dipping low on the racetrack and stopping in his pit area. Here's Jack Arute.
Al Sr. has the first pit out of turn 4, so he got on the binders hard. The jack goes up. They're going to change. It looks to be at least 3, possibly 4 tires. A quick look at the tire wear. That does not seem to be a factor. Now they're going to stay with just 3 tires. Unser takes a look over. Roger Penske gives him the signal to go. 16.9 seconds, an excellent stop.
And it comes, as a matter of fact, at the halfway point of this race. The question is, can he go the remaining distance without having to stop for fuel?
Probably, Bob. 75 laps, 75 miles. It's normal to get 70 to 80 miles. I told you everybody's fuel mileage has been above, or most everybody's has been above 2 miles per gallon. 40-gallon tanks times 2, that's 80 miles, 80 laps on this racetrack. He stopped more than halfway. Everything seems to be in pretty good order.
Al Unser Jr. is shown as the leader of this race.
Has not pitted yet.
Has not pitted, but will have to very, very shortly. Michael Andretti comes in for a pit stop. Jacques Villeneuve is still in the pits. He came in at the same time that Al Unser Sr. did, but there are obvious problems with Villeneuve. And now here comes Al Unser Jr. into the pit area, and his pit is located down in the turn 1 area. So we'll watch to see what happens and how fast the Shearson team can service this car. Al Unser Jr. refusing a drink of water here. He gets rid of a tear-off, tires being replaced and fuel being put in. It looks like it's going to be a very quick stop for Al Unser Jr. The seconds are ticking away, and he goes back out just about the same kind of a pit stop that Al Unser Sr. had, about 17.5 Senior's was 16.9.
He goes out with Pancho Carter. You saw the two different philosophies as far as pit locations go. One at the very exit of turn number 4, one at the very entrance to turn number 1. By the way, there was a couple of races of other divisions as well as practice this morning, and a Super B car spun off of course down on turn number 4. There is Al Unser Sr. and came within about 50 feet of Al Unser Sr.'s race car. That gives you an idea of something you have to be alert for. They immediately removed the car, and the car stayed behind the pit wall back in the garage area for the remainder of the Super B practice and race.
Jeff Andretti was the winner of that Super B race earlier today here in Phoenix. Ken Johnson was the national champion in Super B competition. Word from the pit area is that Johnny Rutherford will be airlifted to the hospital for some tests and for some observations. We saw Johnny get out of the car under his own power and was walking around after the crash earlier in this race. However, the word is that he will be taken to the hospital for observation.
Well, there are the Unsers, Junior and Senior, 30. Domino's Sugar Sweet, the Domino's Pizza number 30, 30 minutes for delivery, and I'll bet you they're battling on the racetrack for position. There goes Senior to the inside, looking to the inside. Now we're showing that no, Al Senior has about a whole lap lead on his younger son, his son, and there goes Senior putting a full lap on the man he's battling for the points championship, his son, Al Unser Jr.
And so there are only 2 cars now on the lead lap, Al Unser Sr. and Danny Sullivan.
Boy, it's hard to believe.
There are a lot of changes being made for 1986, and the question we put to both of the Unsers, would you like to be teammates?
Son has re-upped with the Shearson team. Would you like to run as a teammate to Al Jr.?
I don't think so. It's hard with teammates, and then a father and son, it would be hard. The team itself would have to be such that it could handle it. I think Penske's team could handle something like that, but it takes a very unique group of people to control teammates to start with, and then to control the father and son. It would really be unique.
You'd have something to talk about at the family get-together.
Yeah, we would. I think Al and I could do it. I mean, I don't have any question about that. But the whole team would have to work with us.
From a racing standpoint, I would like to have Dad as a teammate, because I could go up and I could learn so much more from him than what I do now, even though I try to go up and learn from him now. My team, being involved with him, I would be able to be talking to him almost all the time at the racetracks. So I would like it, but then if something was to go on, I guess it would be bad. I don't know. Uncle Bobby and Dad have always stayed away from being on the same team, and I think Dad would answer the question the same way he has for so many years with Uncle Bobby. I don't know. I would really like to be teammates with Dad. I think that would be really neat.
A little disagreement between the two, but I'm sure they would both benefit from such. Now, there is Al Unser Jr., and Al Unser Sr. is just about to lap the only other car on the lead lap with him, Danny Sullivan. Tom Sneva is in the pit area. There was a lot of smoke pouring from that car, and Jack is with Tom.
And we had a very close call in the pits here, Tom. What happened? A little bit of a barbecue in the cockpit.
Yeah, there was. We came in and they found some damage on the left rear suspension. We had to sit there a little longer than we needed to, and we, spilled some fuel and caught it on fire. So it sort of put the end to the Skull Bandit for today.
You made a hasty exit out. Were you at any time on fire, or was you just feeling some heat in the seat?
I saw the smoke, and then the back started feeling pretty warm, so I thought I better get prepared to get out anyway.
Well, it was exit stage left down here, and a lot of concerned people, but he's all right, and the rest of the crew is likewise.
And a disappointment for Tom Sneva. Now, Al Unser Sr. has put a lap on Danny Sullivan. Sr. has lapped the entire field and is just running an unbelievable race here at Phoenix.
Bob, he really is. This is extraordinary. We have not seen this kind of dominance in an IndyCar race at all this year. This race is more often than not a race that is conducive to lead changes. For instance, last year there were 8 lead changes, or a lead change about every 15 laps. Mario Andretti led a lot of the laps, but everybody else didn't try to lead around. It's nice to see this type of dominance at a 1-mile racetrack. There were also 9 drivers eliminated in Buddy into the ground.
Boy, you almost have to go back to his years with Johnny Lightning in 1970 and 71 to remember a time when Al Unser Sr. was as dominant as he is here this afternoon.
Bob, he's still running laps at 23.3, 23.4. That's what he's been turning since lap number 1.
So Al Unser Sr. has lapped the field. Danny Sullivan is second, and Emerson Fittipaldi third. We'll be back with more of our live coverage. Stay with us. Under yellow at Phoenix because of an incident over in turn number 2. Randy Lanier, we understand, made very slight contact on the right side of the car with the wall. He stopped over there, and now the car has been pushed behind the wall out in turn number 2. Randy Lanier, last year's IMSA champion, is out of the race.
Bob, it also gave a little opportunity for a couple of guys who were unhappy with the setup, Bobby Rahal and Emerson Fittipaldi, to come in for an extra pit stop. Our leader, Al Unser Sr., has not. Remember that Emmo came in on lap 66. He may have been a little low on fuel, but with this caution flag now, he can easily go the distance Rahal has changed time.
Danny Sullivan was another one that came in for a pit stop. 6 drivers eligible for the national championship, and we sampled the opinion of the drivers on pit road about who they thought would win.
Who do you see as the most serious challenger as far as the national championship is concerned? If you don't win it, who do you think will?
I think for sure Al Unser Jr. and Senior are looking very good, but Rahal is going to give a good shot, and Sullivan, Mario, and myself, I would say the 2 son and father has the best chance.
I don't know. That's a real tough one to call. I'll tell you. It's, I would say between Al Sr. and Rahal.
Well, 4 or 5 races ago, I went with Al Jr., and I think I'll still do that. You know, they've been running well, and it's just going to be a matter of who stays out of the most trouble and who doesn't have mechanical trouble, I think, at this point.
Big Al, my teammate. More so because I think just reliability factor, and he's been strong and reliable all year. You know, some people could say, well, it's his turn to start braking, but he just keeps plugging away, and I think, you know, he'll get him there. But little Al, you know, they've got a good team. Rahal's been, you know, the hottest guy going in the last 4 or 5 races. It could go down to the last race where maybe there's 4 guys that could win.
Well, it probably will go down to the last race as we go back to green here now. Al Unser Jr. could clinch the championship here this afternoon. He would have to lead the most laps, and he would have to win the race. And I guess at this point, it's impossible because, we have a spin over in turn number 2.
And a crash. Gary Bettenhausen has spun into the fence on the outside of turn number 2. You see Gary moving around there. There is debris, including an entire tire down on the inside of the racetrack, with the field bringing their steeds down under control and moving very slowly by the crash site, everybody being extra special careful. Very warm day. The tires become highly vulnerable to puncture by running over anything on the racetrack, and most everybody has made all the stops they want to make. By the way, on the last restart, as we see Gary getting out of the race car, very disgruntled, Mario Andretti was able to sneak around and underneath Al Unser Jr. Neither one of those guys has made an extra pit stop, and Mario, though both of them are 1 lap down to Al Unser Sr., Mario has moved into the runner-up spot. So first position in points right now is trailing 2nd and 3rd position in points.
Gary Bettenhausen won his first IndyCar race ever here at Phoenix in November of 1968. He was competitive today until this crash took him out of the race.
Bobby Rahal, this is Larry Newber. You guys made the opportunity, or made the time to stop 1 extra time. Was that for tires here in the latter stages of the race?
I think tires and just make sure we had enough fuel. Apparently they didn't hear me say I was coming in that first time, so we weren't able to change all our tires, but we're in good shape now, so we're going to make it to the end and go hard.
Al Unser Sr. is red hot today, isn't he?
I don't know, I haven't seen him. He must be. He got by me in traffic, and Tom Sneva was being rather difficult. I'll make sure I have to say something to him about that after the race, but once Al got by me, I was having trouble getting by traffic, and I never saw him again.
Bobby, with that extra stop, you got a lot of people between you and second-running Mario Andretti. What do you think your chances are of getting up there and doing battle for second?
Oh, I don't think there's any problem. I think they're going to be fighting amongst themselves. And I got Emerson and Danny up ahead of me, so we got our work cut out for us, there's no question.
Okay, Bobby, stay with and good luck and thank you.
And we'd like to thank Comtrack Race Communications for their assistance in helping us establish radio communication with Bobby Rahal and the other drivers. Well, several actors are very involved in auto racing, among them Knight Rider David Hasselhoff. He's with our Jackaroo.
To television viewers, he's known as Michael Knight. David Hasselhoff, you are an old-time race fan. You enjoy watching this, even if you can't get to the races.
Yeah, the studios won't let me race. They won't let me jump the car. They won't let me do anything. Just smile. I'm here because I've been chasing Danny Sullivan for the last 3 years. I was a Grand Marshal at Indy, and there's a good possibility that I'm going to be part ownership in a team next year. And it's going to be called Race for Life, and we're going to tie in with the kids, you know, the sick kids, and then bring them to the races, and I'm having a ball. It's a great race.
What about racing? When you take a look at it as an outsider, what's the kick for you? As you see, you're not born and raised in racing. What as a newcomer to it do you find is so bloody interesting?
Speed. The speed is unbelievable. I trained up in Laguna Seca, you know, and we'll go through the thing at 100 miles an hour, and these guys are doing 160 and 2, and I have no idea how do they do it. I have no idea how they do it. It's incredible. It's just so exciting. I can't stand it. I mean, it's really just a big, it's the world's greatest natural high.
Last question. Would you trade your car for one of these on the show?
Well, you know, Kit is a late entry, and look for a black car with a red scanner coming up behind me. There he is now. Go, Kit, go!
I don't know if I can handle this down here. Back to you guys.
Nice to see you, Mr. Hasselhoff. There is Johnny Rutherford being transported to the hospital in downtown Phoenix. We'll try to keep you updated on his condition. Gary Bettenhausen, who had contact with the wall over in turn number 2 a few laps ago, is okay. We'll be back in Phoenix in just a moment. Back at Phoenix, where the yellow continues to fly because of the Gary Bettenhausen accident over in turn number 2. Gary's okay. Michael Andretti is having a good run this afternoon. He's running 5th, a lap down. We'll talk to him.
Well, Michael may be 5th position, being a lap down, but Michael may have a chance at second. Michael, this is Larry Nuber up at ESPN. Kind of quietly, you stayed on the lead lap. What do you think your chances are for second?
It's going to be really tough because the car has a bit of an understeer in it, so we have our work cut out for us just to stay ahead of Emerson and Bobby Rahal, but I'll sure give it a try anyway.
Michael, what if it comes down between you and your dad for second? With him being in the points, would you make way?
That's a hard one to say. You know, if it happens, we'll see what happens.
Michael, you're doing a good job. We know you've been carrying that race car, and good luck to you the rest of the race.
Johnny Rutherford may have a concussion. That is the reason that he is being flown down to the hospital in downtown Phoenix for some observation. We hope it's certainly nothing more serious than that. Here's the situation at Phoenix International Raceway with 107 laps completed. The leader is Al Unser Sr., second is Mario Andretti, and third is Emerson Fittipaldi. There's a question, though, concerning Fittipaldi's placement in third spot. Let's go down to Jackaroo for that story.
And I'm with Pat Patrick, the owner of Emerson Fittipaldi's car. Pat, we understand that you don't agree with CART as far as positioning right now.
Well, then we don't agree with CART. We don't agree with the scoring system. We feel that Emerson's leading the race, and we think maybe they picked up the wrong pace car.
What is your recourse, though? Do you have to wait for after the race to resolve it? Have you discussed this with the CART people down here?
I said he picked up the wrong pace car, picked up the wrong car as leader. And we discussed with the people here, and CART folks to get it straightened out.
Well, that's the story here. We'll just have to wait and see. Is he third? Is he first? Well, when they drop the green flag, maybe it'll become a moot point.
All right, the computer is showing that Emerson Fittipaldi is in 6th position at this point, and there is question about that, and we'll see how it all comes out.
Remember, there was a scoring dispute between that team and the race sanctioning body earlier this year. They were re-awarded a higher position at the expense of Mario Andretti. It cost Mario a point and awarded a point to Emerson. That took place at Pocono earlier this season. But right now, CART, the timing and scoring is showing him as one of the 6 cars, Emerson Fittipaldi, 1 lap down to the leader, Al Unser Sr. Mario Andretti, Al Unser Jr., Danny Sullivan, Michael Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi, and Danny Sullivan and Bobby Rahal are the people on the one lap down category.
It's been a rather extensive cleanup over there in turn number 2. The yellow is still out and the cleanup continues, so we'll be yellow for a few more laps. While we are, we'll take this break. This is how the points would shake out as they come down off of corner number 4 and get the green flag to resume this race.
Pancho Carter tries the inside of Al Unser Sr. along with Mario Andretti. A puff of smoke as they go around turn number 2. That's the quick dry from the Gary Bettenhausen incident. No problem with the race cars.
There they are. Senior would be in the lead. Al Unser Jr. would be second, then Andretti and Rahal. That's if the race would end right now, but we still have several more laps to go as Al Unser Sr. continues to dominate this race.
It's really a very good race with the exception of Al Unser Sr. It's a great race for him, but we have 7 very top contenders all on the same lap and battling for position, and among them, most of our point leaders.
Off of corner number 4, once again, Pancho Carter is running behind the leader, Al Sr., then Mario Andretti and Little Al, and Danny Sullivan. And 3 of those 4 are in contention for position. Pancho Carter is shown as 2 laps down to the field, running 8th.
He is the leader of all those cars more than 1 lap down. Pancho is in 8th position and obviously running just as quick as the guys 1 lap down to that man, Al Unser Sr., who is without a doubt in a class all of his own. Bob, you know, we've been getting time each lap that he's out on the racetrack. He continues to turn times exactly what he was turning the first and second laps of this race. 23.4, 23.5, 23.6 consistently.
Baldy has come into the pits in the 7-Eleven Pat Patrick prepared car. They're going to the tires and fuel. Looks like they're going to make the exchange. This gentleman is definitely an unscheduled stop. The bonnet remains intact, so it's not an engine problem. It might be just a tire problem. They put him out on the racetrack, back on his way. But this all of a sudden makes the whole protest, makes it all just a moot point now.
You're right. If there was any question as to whether he was in the lead, there is none now. With that stop, the leaders came around at least 1 time, so Emerson Fittipaldi drops back even further in the field.
And by our unofficial count, that was also at least his 4th time into the pit, or rather 3rd time into the pit area.
Al Unser Sr. started the race last year here in Phoenix in 12th position and finished 17th, but he has 5 career wins on this oval. We'll get a lap time here on Al Unser Sr. and compare that with the time that some of the other competitors are running. We expect this to be a very fast lap because there are virtually no cars ahead of Al Unser Sr. here on this lap that he's going to have to contend with.
Al Unser Sr., the man who has won 9 times on short racetracks, mile or shorter in kart competition, make that IndyCar competition.
23.4, and that translates to about 153.846 miles an hour, and he qualified at 161. The speeds are slower, of course, during the race, and besides that, it's a little warmer here this afternoon than it was yesterday. Now we're timing Bobby Rahal to see how his lap time compares to Al Unser Sr. By the way, Sr. practiced before qualifying yesterday in the relative cool of the day at over 163 miles an hour, but came in with an official 161. Clock stops Bobby Rahal is about 0.3 of a second slower.
Again, the amazing thing about Sr. is that he is running almost carbon copies of what he ran on laps 1 and 2. You expect normally a lot of fluctuation as the tanks get heavier, as the tanks lighten up after out on the racetrack for a while, the track gets but he is consistently at 23.4, 23.5, 23.6 lap after lap all day long.
Michael Andretti in car number 99 and Bobby Rahal in car number 3. 5th and 6th position here. A good afternoon for Michael Andretti in the Graco car number 99.
And 120 laps are complete already. Only 30 laps to go. By the way, we mentioned that Al Sr. has won 9 times on mile or less racetrack. He is tied with 3 other drivers, Tom Sneva, Gordon Johncock, and Johnny Rutherford in that category. Bobby Unser and A.J. Foyt have
race today in second spot.
Bobby Rahal in the Steve Horn prepared mobile. Jim Truman, there's Bobby's performance in terms of points in 1985. You can see that in the last 7 races, he's had well over 100 points. Everything that is accumulated has taken place in the last 2 months.
Al Unser Sr. continues to lead here at Phoenix International Raceway. Here is second and third positions, Mario Andretti and Al Unser Jr. Andretti with just the very slight advantage as they come down the straightaway. Little Al looking to the inside in turn number 1, but making no move at this point.
They started together in row 4. This Dennis Swan wrench car, that's the red, white, and blue one, and the red one, Darrell Sapi. Of course, Darrell has won a lot of plaudits because of his strong performance the last couple of seasons at Indianapolis. Al Unser Sr. looking for a way to get around Mario. Mario will be tough to pass here.
Down here in Al Unser Jr.'s pit, and behind me is the Brain Trust. Ian Reed is working a grid computer system. What they do is they feed in information and punch out situationals all during the race. Here's what the computer has told them to do this afternoon. Go with only 1 pit stop. They're biting their nails down here. They're gambling, but they think it may benefit them, at least position-wise, so that they can stay on top of the points, despite the fact that Dad is leading and winning this race.
The computer age becoming more and more involved in IndyCar racing.
Boy, Dad is really leading and winning this race easily. Andretti, Unser Jr., second and third. 1 lap down, remember, to the leader, Al Unser Sr.
Once again, we are high above the racetrack over on the mountain. Beyond turns 3 and 4, and making a move to the inside is Al Unser Jr., and he passes Mario Andretti and picks up second spot. Moves high on the racetrack to lap a slower car.
Boy, a big moment there in the 1985 point standings. Remember earlier in the year, it looked like it was a foregone conclusion that Mario Andretti would be champ. Who would have thought that Al Unser Jr., say the 3rd or 4th race of the season, would be in a position to contend for the points championship and be passing Mario at Phoenix late in the year?
Here's how it happened. Just as they crossed the line, Little Al stood on the accelerator and dived inside to pass Andretti.
Well, there is some aerodynamics that take place, but on a short racetrack like this, things happen so quickly, you go around so fast. Yeah, you have to keep them in the back of your mind. They are a consideration, but normally they are not an advantage or a disadvantage in terms of trying to catch up.
Mario Andretti now back in 3rd place. He is currently 4th in the points and has 4 top 4 finishes in the last 5 races. Al Unser Jr. does. Now he moves low on the racetrack and puts another lap on Pancho Carter. So we have father and son running 1st and 2nd here at Phoenix with 129 laps completed. We've got 21 to go.
With 21 laps to go, Senior has gotten away from that torrid pace that he's been turning in up till now, Bob. He's dropped down, about 3/4 tenths of a second from the pace that he's been running, but I see absolutely no cause for alarm. He's got this race well in hand. We have seen over the last couple of decades, here is one of the most heady drivers in the history of Indianapolis car racing, Al Unser Sr., that man's dad, and I'm sure that's a calculated move to cut back on the pace that Senior has been following.
Steve Chassis driving the only Chevrolet-powered car in the race here this weekend and really doing a fine job in 11th position.
Yeah, he's held his own, Bob. He really has. A lot of people feel that on the short tracks like this that the normally aspirated, or rather the stock block motors, have a little more of an advantage than they would have in the longer racetracks. And I think Steve has really made the most of it here this weekend at Phoenix. He's stayed right in the hunt of things, in the thick of things. I've seen nobody pointing warning fingers at him. He's done a very good job. And Steve Chassis, you know, there are a lot of people who think this guy deserves a bigger opportunity in IndyCar racing, and I'm not so sure that I'm one of those people also.
Steve did not compete here last year at Phoenix, but in this race on this 1-mile D-shaped oval, he is doing a fine job. His best career IndyCar finish of 5th back in 1981 at Watkins Glen. Al Unser Sr., who's leading the race and started from the pole position. That was his first pole since 1980 at Watkins Glen. It's been 5 years since Al Unser Sr. won a pole, but he did it for this race and is leading at the present time with more than a lap advantage on everybody else. So 134 laps are completed. We're nearing the end of the Daytona 150, and we'll be back in just a moment. 130 laps, 116.54 miles an hour, about 10 miles an hour off the track record, and the reason for that, 3 caution periods, and they all involved incidents. The most serious involved Johnny Rutherford and Ari Leyendijk, Rutherford being taken to the hospital for concussion observation. Randy Lanier was slight contact with the wall in turn number 2, and Gary Bettenhausen pounded it in turn 2. Gary is okay.
Al Unser Sr. leading this race. His son, Al Unser Jr. is in second. Mario Andretti is third. From fourth place on back, there's still a lot of contention, some racing going on. Ray Hall and Michael Andretti on the track right together. And some of the other people in the top 10 still going at it, trading positions.
Ed Pim is 6 laps now, running in 12th spot, but Ed is still out there in competition. He, of course, is Tom Sneva's teammate in that Dan Gurney prepared car, number 98, sponsored by Stroll. There he is, Ed Pim, 12th.
Well, he may certainly be a candidate for the most improved driver of the year. That's an award, of course, that CART always gives every year, but you think of him, you think of Jeff Brabham. Maybe those are the 2 guys who are the front runners for that category for this year.
There's a good look at Ed Pim, who hails from the Ohio area, finished 3rd at the Michigan 500 earlier this year.
Ed Pim, not only 3rd in the Michigan 500, but he's been relatively strong in the ovals, which I think was somewhat of a surprise to a lot of people. So much of his road racing, much of his experience, particularly in the open wheelers recently, has been on road courses. Of course, he ran the Super Vs for a number of years successfully, but he's been very strong on the ovals, in a couple of instances actually out-qualifying his teammate Tom Sneva.
Actually, that 3rd place finish was in the Michigan 200, and he was 5th place in the Michigan 500 earlier this year. Danny Sullivan is hanging in there in 4th spot in car number 4. There he is, Sullivan, this year's Indy 500 winner in 4th.
Not only hanging in, that's Mario. He's moving up on there. That could be a battle for 3rd here just momentarily. Mario washing out a little bit between 3 and 4.
Got the car just a little bit high on the racetrack, had to get out of the throttle and onto the brake, and as a consequence, Danny Sullivan pulled right up on his back wing. So we watch now this battle for 3rd position.
As we watch this test for 3rd, update on Al Unser Sr. Lots of dust there, but remember, we're in the desert. No problems. Al Unser Sr. running 23.4s, 23.5s, whatever he wants to. Everything very well in hand.
We only have 6 more laps to go. 144 have been completed. Here comes Al Sr. off of the 4th quarter as we continue to watch Mario Andretti and Danny Sullivan on the backstretch. Now only 5 more laps to go.
Around the 1-mile oval here at the Phoenix International Raceway, Sullivan and Andretti, the 2 guys who went at it head-to-head for this year's Indianapolis 500, may be out-dueling each other for 3rd position here in the final stages of this race. And it is important. Remember, Andretti with a little better chance than Sullivan in terms of the point standings. But as a result of today's race, it certainly looks like that Ray Hall and the 2 Unsers will be the people with the best chance going into the final race of the season for the championship. Although Ray Hall has not had that surge that we really expected, he's right now shown in 6th position.
The final race of the year for IndyCars will be the Beatrice-sponsored IndyCar race at Miami, at Tamiami Park. Now here is Al Unser Sr., the leader of this race, completing lap number 147, passing Steve Chassis on the backstretch, actually getting a little high on the racetrack going into 3 and getting out of the throttle. He'll be a little bit more careful, having a lap advantage, but look at Al Unser Jr., who has closed in on his father. They are a lap apart, but Sr. Has suddenly found himself with a little bit of race from his son.
Well, it gives him something to do here the final laps. He disposes of Steve Chassis. He looks to the inside of Jeff Brabham, being very careful. He knows he has a very big lead. There's no need to give the charge that Al Unser Sr. gave earlier in today's race. Al Unser Jr. moves right up behind Dad, takes a look to the inside. Dad may give him away around, but I doubt it. He would probably like to hold him back there.
We are on the final lap of the race. Al Unser Sr. in 1st, Al Unser Jr. in 2nd, but they are more than a lap apart. Here they are in turn number 3 now. Al Unser Sr. comes off of corner number 4, and the checkered flag is waved. He raises his hand. Al Unser Sr. wins the Dana 150 at Phoenix International Raceway. Here comes the battle for 3rd and 4th position out of corner number 4. Mario will take 3rd, but just barely over Danny
broadcast. They've done extensive testing here, a lot of soul-searching whether or not to use Rick Mears, who, by the way, plaudits once again for the safety measures he took last week in freeing Howdy Holmes when he was upside and not breathing. But he helped a lot in the setup of this car. They spent a lot of time. The Penske team really applied themselves, and Al Unser Sr. takes a big stride toward the top of the points ladder in 1985 with a dominant victory, to say the least, here today.
And fifth was Michael Andretti, finishing in sixth spot. Not a particularly good performance compared with what he has been doing the last 4 races. Bobby Rahal finishes in sixth. Well, Jack Arute is down in the pit area and Victory Circle, as a matter of fact, and we'll be talking with the winner of our race, Al Sr., in just a moment. The Dana 150 is history. Al Unser Sr. totally dominant today's event. Let's go down to Victory Circle. Here's Jack Arute.
Well, Al Unser Sr. is opening up a cold one. It's been a while, Al.
Yes, it has. I tell you, it's something that it's really neat because of the crew that I have, and thanks to Rick Mears and Roger Penske. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here today. And their crew, I'm telling you, it's just not enough I could say. And, of course, for Pennzoil for supporting us, and of course Miller, you know, for giving us, and the Goodyear tires today, I have no complaints. Everything went just as smooth as ever. I tell you, there isn't enough I can say.
Well, what we were interested in is in the final laps. It looked like you had almost a cakewalk all afternoon, but then lo and behold, right in these mirrors, you looked up and saw little Al.
Well, it made me feel very proud, I'll tell you, because, you know, it made me feel happier that I had a lap on him, but it would have been a little tighter battle if it wouldn't have been for that lap, and we'd have had to run a little bit harder.
You've taken over the points lead from little Al. You're up by 3 going into the final race. How does it feel, Al?
Well, it feels good, but the final race is going to be a hard one, as all of them are, and we just have to tackle that one as we did this one, trying to do it.
Well, for Al Unser, it's set one up and set one down, 1 to go in the chase for the championship.
And what an interesting situation it's going to be, because the championship will go down to either Al Unser Sr. or Al Unser Jr. Here are the points. Sr. is on top now at 136, Jr. with 139, Jr. with 136. Bobby Rahal is eliminated from the national championship. 22 points are available per race. He is 23 behind. Mario Andretti is 4th, Danny Sullivan 5th, and Emerson Fittipaldi is 6th. There's the second place finisher, Al Unser Jr., with his son. So we will be back to review this Dana 150 right after these messages. Our race summary for the Dana 150 here at Phoenix International Raceway showed it was 1 hour and 14 minutes and 56 seconds long, 3 leaders, 2 lead changes. There were 2 caution periods, and 20 laps were run under the yellow flag. The top 10 finishers: Al Unser Sr., Al Unser Jr., Mario Andretti 3rd, Danny Sullivan 4th, Michael Andretti was 5th. Finishing 6th was Bobby Rahal, then Pancho Carter, Emerson Fittipaldi, Jose...